Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Space Cowboy Books Online. This is the first in our series of Flash Science Fiction Nights, and we're very excited to start off the series with three friends, wonderful writers, all people that have written for Simultaneous Times podcast. We have Robin Rose Graves is going to open the show. We have Renan Bernardo joining us from Brazil this evening, and we have Gideon Marcus ending the show for us tonight. So, without delay, we are going to hand it over to Robin Rose Graves. Robin is a Rising nominee this year. She's in the Rising Anthology. If you don't know what that is, it's given for Best Speculative Poem of the Year. So, we're all rooting for her for that. And Robin, take it away.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So my story today is called Roots. I keep my window open at night. The wind carries laughter from the quarry. I picture their happy faces while my eyes remain glued to my tablet, unable to focus on my lesson. Angry red text. Another question answered wrong. I power my tablet down. I'll have to restart the lesson from the beginning. I'll do it tomorrow. The laughter continues as I lay in bed, warbling like birds. But there are no birds on Abstria, only a handful of humans to work the quarries, and unlucky children they brought along. I wonder if any of them are in my class. The other students appear as usernames, no faces to match. Even the teacher remains off camera for most of the lecture. Whatever, they're probably all on Earth anyway. In the morning, my mom asks, "Why don't you go outside today?" "And do what?" I reply. "Nothing but barren rock for miles, extending along the curvature of the planet, interrupted only by sparse vegetation." "You could go for a walk," she suggests. My face stiffens. I power my tablet up. My classroom app is ignored in favor of a game. She shrugs. "You need some sun. I worry about you." She grabs her ventilated mask on her way out. I'm relieved knowing she will be gone for hours. I play a few levels of my game. I know I should be redoing my lesson, but unlocking achievements is more appealing. A voice from outside makes me jump, loud and angry. At first, I think it's my mom, criticizing me about my screen time. A girl too young to be a worker, her hand raised in the air, one finger is standing above the others. My heart stutters in my chest, like a dog on alert seeing their human come home. Whoever she was yelling at, they're gone by the time I'm outside. The trailers lined beside my own are quiet, suggested to be empty. I rush to catch up with her, not sure where she could be headed in our mining colony. All words vacate my mind the moment she notices me. Her hair is an ombre of color, dark at the roots, blonde at the tips, and a faint purple in between. No shops nor hair color products on the colony. She must have had it done back on Earth. "You got roped into moving here too?" I finally managed to speak. "Yep." Her boot kicks a stone. It lands in a neighboring yard in defeat. "How long have you been here?" "A little over a year," I answer. I can't hide my excitement, happy to talk to someone who isn't my mother for once. "Mom needed a job after the divorce." I shrug, trying to act cool. "Apparently, all the jobs are here." "Tell me about it," she answers. "Pop is convinced I'll work here soon as I turn 18. "Do you ever go to the quarry at night?" I ask. She shrugs, then nods. "Could I come?" Somehow I expected to need an invitation. "You do roots?" She sounds surprised. I hesitate. I've heard this slang before. It's some sort of drug. This planet has little else to offer besides the minerals beneath its crust. Some bored individual discovered the psychedelic effects of one of the local floras. Mom said some miners die from it. She's just paranoid though, and I'm not about to risk my first chance at making friends over it. I nod stiffly. "Cool, I'll see you there tonight," she says. I return to my shelter. My hands tremble as I attempt my lesson. Mom is deep asleep as I close the door soundlessly. I follow the voices on the wind to the quarry, now resting along with its workers. It becomes home to the kids who have nothing better to do. Kids like me. I see the girl with ombre hair next to a small campfire. She's accompanied by two boys who keep trading affectionate touches. She doesn't appear to be surprised nor excited that I came. Why in the quarry? I ask. That's where root grows, one of the boys answers. His attitude relays it's obvious. I quietly stew in my embarrassment. I'm glad when the couple splits off on their own. Shout if you see one, the girl says. I don't even know what to look for. Her flashlight sweeps across rubble. Something brushes against my leg and I jump. It's nothing but the shriveled leaves of a plant. Oh, nice. It's a big one. Maybe there'll be two in it. Want to go first? She offers. I hesitate, not sure what to do. Do I eat the underground portion? I think of the dirt sticking to it. Before I can answer, she uproots the plant. The hidden bulb is ghostly pale, tendrils of roots dangling beneath. I startle at the movements weaving in between. A snake the color of bile. Damn, only one, she says. I blink, making the connection. She expertly grabs the animal at the base of its head, its jaws open, ready to latch onto flesh first chance it gets. I want to put distance between myself and the creature. She notices my fear. You sure you want to do this? This is my only opportunity to opt out with my dignity still intact, but I'm sure I'll never be invited to hang with the local kids if they think I'm uncool. I take a deep breath, thrust up my arm. Fangs pierce skin. The spot of contact burns, even after the creature has slithered away. I'm alone, though she hasn't gone far. Covered in cold sweat, my heart thunders. Movement tugs at my attention. In the distance, the campfire licks at its kindling, casting shadows on the quarry. I see figures in them. I scramble, trying to catch up. Something grabs me by the ankle. I fall onto unforgiven slates. The stronger I pull, the harder the monster pulls back. Claws scratch my arms. I scream. A light blinds me. Hey, it's okay, the girl assures me. It's just a bush. She helps untangle my clothes from thorns. My eyes are wet. I want to throw up. You've never done this before, have you? I nod in defeat, sniffling. Here, lay down. I follow her instructions. The rock hurts my back. I can feel the planet's rotation. She lies like a starfish beside me. Look at the stars. I do so. The sky is full of smudges of light. I realize they are dancing. Somewhere in the distance, the boys are laughing. What do you do for fun? She asks. I tell her about the game I've been playing. She lets me ramble on about it for a while before she tells me she plays it too. My heart floats. You didn't have to do it, you know, she says. I feel stupid and exposed. I wanted you to like me, I confess. I know. Her hand touches mine and gives it a squeeze. It's nice to have someone else to hang out with. I was getting tired of being the third wheel. The stars still swirl above, but the nausea now gone, so I can enjoy their beauty.
Thank you, Robin. That was Robin Rose Graves with Root. And next up, we have Renan Bernardo. He's joining us from Brazil this evening. He has been both a finalist for the Argos and Odysseia Awards. And he is going to be sharing a story with us called Different Kinds of Fury.
Hello. So this is different kinds of fear. Is it too late to pray for a second storm? I was a little girl when my grandpa told me that in order to have health leaves, you first need health soil. And I'm an old, grieving climate engineer. When I show my granddaughter, I'm disfiguring the woodlands close to our home. You're pulling off our trees, Granny. Julia crosses her arms, a wrinkle of heartbreak on her lips. Oh yeah, she's right. By a simple tap on my pad, a group of 7 trees rips out of the soil of what we call our backyard forest. The rings around their trunks switch on and their air thrusters activate. The roots drip sap as the trees position themselves on the soil drones floating nearby. It's for a good reason, I say. The soil drone's edges gleam in blue as the roots cohere with the drone's medium. The backyard forest is where my beloved Emily and I laid our offerings, and prayed for better tidings, where we terraformed our first river and collected fresh water from a grotto to nourish our saplings, and where I lost my lovely Emily to the first storm. But today, after years of love and cultivation, that place is also a lush extravaganza, a sanctuary in a world in need of oases. Besides, what did I say about the backyard forest, Julia? It's not ours. And why is that? Because flags can't be stuck on the soil. I wave a finger. Never. More soil drones glide down, and the tree rings light up. More roots pulled out, more trees hovering and replanting themselves on the drones. I touch the pad, and one of the drones comes to us, a bigger one, for sturdier trees. What about flying? I ask, wheeling our luggage and resting it on a soil drone. Can we? Oh, those hazelnut eyes glistening in the unwavering sunlight. We hop on the drone. I fasten our legs and waist to the strap system, clenching my teeth to ignore the pains in my leg and belly. In minutes, we're leaving home and wafting with our backyard forest all around us. Hundreds of trees dislocated from their bedding for the first time. Why is our home different? Julia asks, as we fly and leave the rim of the terraformed lands Emily and I projected. She gapes down at the wastelands that span all around, canyons that once scarlet with water, lands strewn by drought, villages and ruins wrecked by a storm now silent. When I met your granny Emily, our home was not unlike all of this. Julia dares to look behind. Granny, our forest, she's crying. I drape an arm around her shoulders. It's gone. Our solitary house lies naked in our reserve, except for the copse where the family tombstones are located. Emily's and Josh's, Julia's father. I speak the next words with a lump in my throat. Our backyard forest is needed somewhere else, sweetie. The forest is where she learned to walk, where she planted her first seeds and said goodbye to Josh. It can't be easy to see it scattered. It isn't for me. We start to descend toward the refugee tents and shanties. Hundreds of thousands of them are scattered across the wastelands of absolute climate collapse. The shred of a river cuts the camp like a scar, threatening to extinguish itself. Tired eyes stare up, calloused hands pointing at the forest that descends from the skies. My soil drones spread, detecting the best spots to position their nutrient-packed modules. Julia gapes at the roots that wriggle out of the soil drone's bases. She turns back at my grimace. Are you in pain, Granny? No, it's those old bones of mine, sweetie. Our soil drone lands with a soft thud. Julia grabs my hand as we hop off. A woman approaches to greet us, peppering ladybugs on the soil from a basket in her hands. One day, Emily came to me like that, a tired, thirsty wanderer, but with a boy in her arms instead of soil harmonizing tiny bots. Julia, this is Akpena, our new friend. We'll spend some time here. Akpena smiles and shakes Julia's hand. It warms my heart that Julia smiles back, because she'll see that face a lot in the coming years. Her eyes gleam when some ladybugs shine in red and drill holes into the dry land, while the warm wind scatters the other ones. Is the soil red for coupling? I ask. Synth mycelium, nutrients, and everything else? Half of it is done, Akpena says, her eyes not evading from my Julia. I knew before my granddaughter joins protesting. You are now part of a storm too, Julia. But you always said those were furious times. I don't want to be part of it. Julia, sweetie, there are different kinds of fury. I hug her and close my eyes. Even if I can't be part of it, I pray for the storm that will breed around the world from all the camps like that one. A storm of healing and blooming and granddaughters with futures. That's it.
Thank you, Hanan. Next up, we have Gideon Marcus. Gideon is a multiple-time Hugo finalist. He also, along with Janice Marcus, were the winners of the 2020 first inaugural Space Cowboy Award. And he is also the author of Keetra, which he has just told me we will have the sequel to coming in September. So without further delay, I will hand it over to Gideon Marcus.
Hello, everybody. Funny story behind this story. This is actually one of two in the same universe. I wrote it for a magazine that their gimmick was two flash fiction pieces that were tied together. And I sent it to them, and they promptly rejected them. They are no longer in business, so we know the wisdom of their decision. But thankfully, Jean-Paul, being desperate, bought both of them. And I'm reading one of them for you today, hopefully as well as Jean-Paul did in an earlier edition of the Simultaneous Times podcast. So this is Manhunt. Look sharp, she said. It could be any of them. That's all it took, and the sea of anonymous faces, that rush of foot traffic through the station, became a menacing horde. The guy in the business suit, tie overlong to hide a paunch, the hipster with the full sleeves and slicked back hair, even the old fellow doddering down the way, fringes of hair around a pink pate. One of them was a man from Mars. I glanced over at my boss. For the umpteenth time, I sighed internally. The beige agency suits that worked for Simone's complexion made me look pallid, sickly. If I'd made it into the Secret Service, I could have worn black, which would be an improvement. What exactly are we looking for anyway, I asked. A teenager in a hoodie stepped past me to throw his gum away in a nearby wastebasket, and I had to resist flinching away. Some tough customer I was. Anything unusual. Agent Martin says they give themselves away pretty easy if you watch closely. How many people have they killed so far? My eyes lit on a derelict plodding his way upstream through the hall, gray beard greasy and matted. The fingers on my right hand twitched. 3 for sure, but it's not the deaths we need to stop. It's the spying. Yeah, it'll sure be easy finding a shape changer who can look like any man. Don't be sloppy, Carson. It could be a woman, maybe even a kid. Her words were low, clipped. Great. Now everyone was a suspect. Anyway, it's not as hard as you think, she went on, less harshly. They're stuck in their forms for days on end, and it takes time to transform. Just look sharp. Sweat dripped down my neck under the collar of my uniform, despite the chilly air conditioning. I needed to get it together. There were 30 agents in the cordon, spread out around a kilometer radius from where the diplomat was found unconscious, the telltale slime fresh and dripping on his open attaché case. Odds were low that the man, a person from Mars, or wherever, would come this way. And if they did, well, my hand twitched again toward the stunner at my hip. 2 o'clock, rookie. My eyes flicked ahead and to the right. Oh man, if ever there was a suspect. He had curly hair and a mohawk, wearing trainers about 2 sizes too small for his spindly build. The guy was squinting as if the lights were too bright, and he staggered like he was in a daze, or the gravity was too heavy for him. I looked over at my boss, and she nodded. On that signal, we waded into the crowd. They parted for us. The agency had a reputation, and we quickly flanked the subject. Startled, he tried to back away, but Simone grabbed one of his bony arms, with gloves of course, before he could bolt. Hey man, he yelped, what's going on? His so-called Cal accent was thick, and the special smell that informed me that no matter the time zone, it was 4:20 somewhere. I kept my hand on the grip of my stunner. It could be an act. Agency business, Simone said, whipping out her sniffer. Just stand still for a moment. The commuters walked around us like we were a boulder in a stream, a couple of them stopping to watch as my partner ran the little device over the suspect's neck. I tried to keep eye on him and the other on traffic, which is really hard unless you've got eyes on stocks like the Martians do when they're not playing dress up as people. The suspect yelped as the sniffer touched his flesh, and Simone gripped him tighter. We waited a tense moment while the device flashed through a cycle of colors. Then they settled on green, and there was a soft chime. "You're free to go. Thank you for your cooperation," Simone said. "What?" She said, "Get moving." The guy shoved his hands into his pockets and staggered away, muttering something about bacon. I opened my mouth to say something when the call came through our earbuds. "Found anything?" Our supervisor, Parado's accent was unmistakable. "Nothing yet, boss," Simone said. She didn't put her hand to her ear like they do in the movies, and her eyes scanned every face around her intently. "Negative all around the cordon," the voice in our ears went on, "but Wong found a couple of traces. We're pretty sure the alien went your way." "Copy that." Crap. The hallway was getting more crowded as the lunch hour approached. Most of the commuters wore suits. A few talked to the air like schizophrenics, only one side of their phone conversations audible. I wheeled left, then right. Everybody looked suspicious to me. We couldn't stop everyone. "Let's get out of traffic, rookie," Simone said. It was a good idea. We'd get a better vantage that way. I turned on a heel to head back to the wall when a collision sent me flying. "Oh, I'm so sorry." I whirled around. A lady I hadn't seen in the crowd, probably because she was so tiny. She staggered to her feet. Old, dark glasses. At the end of the leash in her hands was a big fluffy dog with an orange vest. The woman looked completely harmless. Too harmless. I tensed, reached for my stunner, and glanced quickly at Simone. She nodded and pulled out the sniffer again, running it quickly over the lady's head. The woman didn't seem to notice. The device chimed almost instantly, flashing green, and I let out the breath I'd been holding. "I don't know what happened," the woman said, not looking at anything in particular. "I don't usually run into people." She sounded like everyone's grandma. The dog was cute, too. He looked like the big mutt I'd had as a kid, and I couldn't resist giving him a pat on the head. The guide wagged its tail and opened its mouth in a doggy grin. "That's all right, ma'am," Simone said, cucumber cool. "Do you need any assistance?" "Oh, no, thank you. We'll be fine. Just fine, won't we, Rex?" "Meow," the dog said. I beat Simone to the draw. To be fair, my hands were free.
Thank you, Gideon. That was Gideon Marcus with Manhunt. Before that, you heard Renan Bernardo with Different Kinds of Fury. And opening the show was Robin Rose Graves with a story called Root. Our next Flash Science Fiction Night will be on June 8th, and we will have featured readers F.J. Bergman, Jonathan Nevers, and Marie Vibert. So that's bound to be another wonderful evening. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. If you want to hear more from these authors, I've put their respective links into the chat, and also you can find stories by all of these wonderful writers on our podcast, Simultaneous Times, which you can find anywhere you can find podcast. Thank you so much to Robin, Renan, and Gideon. We'd love to have you back sometime. I hope everyone enjoyed these wonderful stories. Good night from Space Cowboy.